for this session. There's a few things I want to cover associated with more policy related stuff, because you've been primed up now to do a safe system assessment. You've got that methodology down pat. You know how to fill out the matrix, you know, to look at that sort of colorful chart to get a bit of an idea of what sort of score you might put for severity. You've got factors you're thinking about for likelihood, and you're dot pointing all of those into the matrix. And exposure, you're using the scoring reference sheet to go to those bands of exposure. And so we hope you're sort of ready to go. However, we do have allocated time in this session to answer any questions you might have. So if you've started to get things together and you've got questions about either what you need to do for this the final assignment, or if you've got questions about specifics around how you might work out a score for something, I'm happy to answer those now. You can either raise your hand or you can type it into the chat, and I'll happily spend some time elaborating and explaining that. So we can do that throughout the session at any point. And also any questions you have associated with safe system assessments in general. I'll cover off some of the policy guidance stuff, what some of the jurisdictions are doing, when they're good in projects and the like. But if you have questions around that, feel free to pop them in or put your hand up, and we can answer those. I'll do a little bit of sort of wrapping up, make sure we've thought about lots of different road stereotypes or road cross sections, road environments, and thinking what would be good safe system alignment in order to make sure you're ready to go and do safe system assessments anywhere. And then Loretta will show you how to just finish off the course in the learning management system. Then all going to plan. We'll give you some time back to really progress things. But if there's lots of discussion and questions and the like, that's very valuable, and we'll use that time. But let me jump into it. So we are recording this session, of course. As I mentioned there, really the purpose of this session is to do some stuff around policy and general safe system in road transport, in the road transport industry. Understand the benefits of safe system assessment. Think about that process of a safe system assessment within the life cycle of an infrastructure project or a road or a street. And then I want to explain the difference and clarify the difference between a safe system assessment and a road safety audit. I talked a little bit about that in module 1, but having now gone through a week of this, you probably got a lot more clarity around what it is. And I just want to talk a little bit about where we are at with road safety auditing and safe system assessments. And they're sort of converging. They're coming, actually, no, audits are coming closer to safe system assessments, but they're still different, and I'll highlight some of those differences. Of course, last chance to keep an eye out for Wally, and we should have a little Christmas Wally the Wombat or something in there. Okay, remember in module 1, I talked to this slide to just reinforce the commitments from jurisdictions around safe system assessments. So yeah, if you are sort of in the consulting world, there is demand significantly building for safe system assessments across the Eastern Seaboard, particularly, and New Zealand, absolutely. If you duck over there occasionally, they're sort of very big on the safe system assessment, which has been incorporated in with road safety audits into one entity. But what do you actually do? They call that a safe system audit. It's a road safety audit and a safe system assessment under the one banner. So the process you're going through and have learned just feeds into that. Yes, South Australia doing safe system assessments well. So that's good. If you're a local government representative, it's something that most local governments aren't really using it a lot in a formalized manner, but the principles are really good just for checking projects. But some local governments are starting to pick things up and use it for their infrastructure projects to justify or to check their commitments to integrating and putting the SAFE system on the ground. I think like Gold Coast City Council is a interesting case study in that. They have a road safety plan. It mandates safe system assessments. They're doing that on their infrastructure projects in the planning phase as they go through. And I think that's, it's really good. They still do road safety audits after it's into the detailed designs or the design phase, but as they're trying to determine what appropriate intersection forms are or different cross sections or the like, they're doing that. So I think a good little case study there. Happy to talk to what any of the jurisdictions are doing in that space. And looks like Harris has popped a question straight away. Is New Zealand leading the way here with the integration of safe system assessments and road safety audits? And are the Australian jurisdictions likely to follow this approach? Great question. And I would say yes. Austroads, in the most recent update to the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, which is road safety audits, had a big focus on trying to integrate more safe system thinking into the road safety audit process. It was a bit challenging because we had sort of Western Australia who were doing things in a particular way in road safety auditing, and they just wanted to stick to that. And you had New Zealand wanting to go way further, pushing more safe system in, and different jurisdictions. In the end, as many sort of Austroads projects do, it wasn't the very forward-leading way. It was more a consensus of where generally sort of the average of what jurisdictions are doing. So New Zealand then just said, well, okay, that's fine, but we'll put our supplement out that jumps ahead with a lot of their safe system integration. The other jurisdictions are watching, seeing how that works, seeing what the challenges are. New Zealand's updating that process or going to do an update to that process things. But I think that in order to lessen the red tape and the duplication associated with these assessment techniques, that eventually at some point the rest of Australia, so the rest of the Austroads jurisdictions will pull these together just to streamline things a bit. But for the moment, and well, Austroads is a slow-moving beast, and then the jurisdictions have to, adopt it for a good solid few years at least. We'll certainly be using this process, and then even when we, even if the jurisdictions were all to adopt a new Austroads approach similar to the New Zealand one, you still use this safe system assessment process. It's just then follows with some road safety auditing. So good question. Thank you. Okay, I want to talk to some of the benefits of a safe system assessment. And this graph is the output of an independent evaluation of 35 safe system assessments that were undertaken on really big projects. So we're talking town bypasses, new motorway interchanges, like really big type projects. Now, this was done using a crash prediction model and technique. Basically, for those who know ANRAM, it was ANRAM plus a little bit more. So this was done by or led by Blair Turner, for those who know Blair. And so took all of these safe system assessments, looked at the projects, looked at what they were planning originally, what the safe system assessment said, what they ended up building. used a prediction over 20 years as to how many crashes would have occurred, how many were saved. So let me talk this through, because it tells me quite a story, this particular graph and this output. This is fatal and serious injuries. So some of you might use KSI, killed and seriously injured, but FSI is what a lot of jurisdictions use. So FSIs. And it starts here with no project. So what that means is that, take the one I mentioned, a town bypass. Like if the highway was not to, or the town was not to be bypassed, and it just continued for the next 20 years going through the town. Okay. How many deaths and serious injuries would we expect? So that was the no project one. And so there's no change, no interchange built and these sort of things. So that then had said in these areas, it's quite a big bit of the road network, there'd be 7,900 serious injuries and 344 fatalities over the next 20 years across all of these areas. So then the safe system assessments were done at a essentially a concept reference designy stage. So the designs that came in were going to do things like town bypasses, upgrades to motorways and these sort of things. And that was assessed and determined that brought things down to 6,700 serious injuries, 286 fatalities. Then the safe system assessment was done. So it was done on no project, and then it was done on the design, and then recommendations made, just as you're doing or you're about to do if in yours, to say, well, you could add this, or you could change this, or you could alter this configuration, or add this raised thing here, or add barrier system here, all of those things. The evaluators here, or the assessors, that the people who did the evaluation have said, okay, well, let's take the big ticket items here. And that brought the crashes down to 3,890 serious injuries, 167 fatalities. Now, that was just what the Road Safety Audit Report produced. Now, the projects themselves, what they actually adopted was back here, which is 5,298 serious injuries, 227 fatalities. Okay, so the story this tells me is quite interesting. I think the comments come in or questions around how big are these areas. Well, as I said, there's some massive projects in here. So we're talking like one of them, I think, was all of the adding lanes on the Monash Freeway for, which carries 130,000 vehicles a day, 140,000 vehicles a day. And it was like, 30 kilometers or 25 kilometers of upgrade works. There was a number of major duplication jobs across major outer suburban arterial roads. And so it is over 20 years, remember. So that's why, while the numbers do, no, this is not for one location. This is for all 35 sites over 20 years. And I say sites, yeah, some of them are like 100 kilometers. Anyway, the story it tells here of interest for me is that, first of all, we see benefits. We see benefits there from the original design, just what they're producing. It's going to improve safety. that's sort of what more we could do in a theoretical sense. That's an interesting one as to why we go back there. But the difference here, that's the current and immediate value of safe system assessments. Just by going through the process you're going through, making the recommendations and them altering it within their abilities to do that. So this one for me is quite interesting in the sense that why are we as safe system assessors saying things and they're not adopted? And there's many reasons for that. It can be things around cost, can be things around perceived community acceptance, uncertainty around treatment suggested, maybe just a cultural thing of not wanting to do that sort of stuff. So there's lots of reasons for that, and I think we can continue to work on that. I think that's just a huge tick, and that's why a lot of jurisdictions are mandating safe system assessments. But this is another one I find interesting. Why are we still seeing all of those deaths and serious injuries all over these areas over the next 20 years, even though we've done a safe system assessment, even in the best safe system assessment outcomes? And that's what we'd sort of call the residual. And it's something we need to work on. But these are things that we don't really have good answers to. Or so they are things like motorcycle crashes, even with our suggestions in safe system assessments with motorcycle underrun protection and the like. There's just the inability for us to create environments where the energy is managed. There's some rare events in there which are packed into the model, sort of pedestrians walking on high-speed rural roads and those sort of things. So the particular projects aren't able to address those. It's often a bigger planning issue and those sort of things. So it's an interesting, it's an interesting sort of little thing to have a think about. But I really believe this is where we need to innovate, come up with new treatments, new ideas, new ways to operate and manage things. We need vehicle technology to further advance us and really push us forward. We need innovation around enforcement and legislation and policy change, and there's a whole lot we need to do. But safe system assessments can provide real benefit. Okay.
I might just read through some really good sort of comments in the chat, if that's okay. A couple of questions as well. So the first one was like, is there any concerted efforts to put economic value and also number of lives lost and serious injuries, because that would be truly compelling, especially to people who control funding and decisions to implement?
Yeah, so that's the one thing that wasn't done in part of this evaluation, and I'm pretty sure this is a publicly available evaluation, but they didn't actually put costs to the infrastructure changes that were associated with this. So I agree that would be a nice way to round this out for funders and decision makers to show the benefits. But it does sometimes lead me a little bit back to the discussion we had in Module 2 around benefit cost ratio and using lives lost. And, this is the kind of thing we want to say, no, if we're doing something, we make it as safe system as we possibly can. It's complicated though. Yeah, agree with that comment. Yep.
Excellent. Yeah. And then Madge just provided some info in WA. They publish figures every year. So some good interaction there, helping each other out. And also Adam, that TAC has the information as well. So thank you.
So sorry, I was just reading through them as well. That's good discussion. Thank you. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it sort of plays out. Yeah, safe system assessments as part of it, but exactly as people are saying, there's wider stuff around funding, around decision making, around treatments, around how to address things. So there's lots packed in there. But the real takeaway and the reason for putting it in here is to say that safe system assessments have been through some evaluation process. They have been shown to be beneficial in reduction in death and serious injury from a prediction model perspective. We're almost sort of at the length of time that safe system assessments have been going that somebody could do that evaluation on actual live safe and the like, because this was using a prediction model, but pretty robust, or generally robust methodology for doing that. So it's not just something people like, it's got some real benefit to it. And in terms of other benefits, a few dot points here, which you can have in your back pocket if you're trying to talk to people about why they should consider doing a safe system assessment. Really good way of determining how well a project aligns with safe system principles, which sounds obvious, but like a lot of the time it's just been a bit an area for debate and people arguing with each other about safe system alignment and not. So it at least provides a methodology. Great for comparing project design options or, choices around intersection form or project alignments and these sort of things from a safe system perspective. And we haven't really had that. Any of you who are road safety auditors, you remember that we say road safety auditor's job is not to rank your projects from, best to worst for safety. They just simply look at the risks of each, of the project that's put in front of them. Whereas a safe system assessment provides that nice way to actually compare. So if you're doing a multi-criteria assessment or something, it feeds in just beautifully in terms of that weighting of different design options. Information on design changes that will move a project closer to safe system objectives. And it is closer. You saw that just doing a safe system assessment isn't going to get us to zero. There's a whole lot of other stuff, but it's moving us along significantly there. It's a good method for assisting planners, designers, project managers to move the safe system from theory to practice. And that one I really resonate with because I meet so many people out there who can spout off safe system principles and theory. Oh, yeah, people make mistakes, human tolerance to physical force, this, and you go, yep, that's great. And but then get to actual decision making in a project and on the ground, and that's all thrown out the window. We have this tool now to at least push a little bit of it on the ground. And it's a really sound basis for future planning and design of infrastructure. So it's good stuff. And I'm excited that you'll be out there being able to do this and being able to get people pushing projects to do it, and you can be assisting. Okay, so keep your questions and comments coming in, but I'm going to take you through like the general safe system assessment process. So a project, they're planning, they're thinking about doing upgrades to a road or an intersection or a motorway or a massive length of road. And where along the lines is a safe system assessment good and where's a road safety audit good? And we always talk about doing safe system assessments early in a project. I think you're getting the feel that a safe system assessment is challenging a lot of the fundamentals of projects, the intersection form, the cross-section, the addition of separated shared path facilities. It's pretty big stuff. And if the business case is approved and the designs are all done and they're into the details, they're not going to change any of that. So we want to be in there using this methodology to try to influence the form if we need to get better safe system outcomes. Then road safety audits just seem to have a process that sits better with those details. Partly I give examples of like maybe a road safety barriers flare rate or something like that. Okay, the flare rate of the end, like a safe system it is not going to change your scoring. Okay, it's not like safe system assessments are bigger, meatier things than that, but that's important stuff, and we should, at the details, be looking and investigating into that. And a road safety audit does that sort of stuff really, really well. That methodology just lends itself to that. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a general diagram you could have a think about. But those difference between the road safety audit and the safe system assessment, as I mentioned, they're coming together closer. They both look at the likelihood of crashes really well. The severity of crashes, road safety audits should look at the severity of crashes quite well, but I just say that industry practice and there's some lagging processes and ways that people operate that means that sometimes you're absolutely forced to do that in a safe system assessment, and it's really handy to have that. I still see this quite a lot, like a new large signalized intersection, and there's a road safety audit undertaken on it. And the issues that come back are talking about, sight lines for the signals, back of queue issues, line marking, alterations, and these sorts of things. Very important stuff associated with trying to stop people crashing. There is just nothing in the report associated with what happens when somebody runs the red light, and they're going to do it fast. And so they're not thinking about the severity of crashes, because they've kind of, in their mind, they're all about eliminating the possibility, or trying to eliminate the possibility of a crash happening. And that's fantastic. We want to do that. We want to do as much as we possibly can there, but we have to get in that mindset that crashes will still happen. How bad are they going to be? And exposure is not really taken into account. So it is taken into account in a road safety audit, but it is mixed in with likelihood. Like they're mashed together, and that's fine for the purposes of it, but it doesn't separate it out so you can sort of clearly see that you may be able to do something with the exposure to crashes. Both provide recommendations for improved road safety outcome and consider all road users. The safe system assessment really does have a focus on just fatal and serious injury, and road safety audits can do a lot more discussion and things around minor issues. So that's a slight difference. And then we get into these wider elements of the safe system where we look and answer those qualitative questions that Max took you through around the vehicles, the people, the possibility to even include sort of maintenance and operation, post-crash care, and yeah, so we ask those holistic questions as well in a full safe system assessment. Road safety auditors are told to, not redesign the project. Like if somebody comes to you with well, this is more, depends where you're doing a road safety audit in terms of the life cycle of a project. If it's a detailed design, you're not challenging the fundamentals of the project, or you can, but it's just weird. Like if it's a 500-page design set for a duplication with signalized intersections, and you're coming back and saying the intersection forms are incorrect and shared paths should be added, it just doesn't make sense. But safe system assessments just lend themselves a bit better to that. And innovation encourages innovation. I really think road safety audits can hamper innovation, but safe system assessments encourage innovation. Safe system assessments are very scalable. You can undertake them on an individual project, on an area, on a program. You can just use the same methodology. So yeah, just a little bit of context there, I think. So the process, we do is that the client or somebody who's commissioning this safe system assessments decides, are they going to do a full-blown safe system assessment, or are they going to do what we call a rapid or a light safe system assessment? I will, in a slide or two, show you the difference between those. It's not like one takes 2 weeks and the other is done in an hour. No, like they're fairly similar. The rapid just maybe takes about 30% effort off, so it's still about 70% of the effort there. Is my screen black?
I can see the title.
Yeah, no. It's okay.
I think everyone's all good. So maybe Anthony, if you could log out and log back in, please. Yep, perfect. Thanks, Ken. All good.
Good, thank you. So I'll talk to you about full and rapid, but then a safe system assessment team's chosen. Now, the only jurisdictions to have any sort of registers of safe system assessors are Victoria and South Australia. Everyone else is just accepting a certificate of successful completion of a safe system assessment course, which you're well on your way to getting. But I'll even show you the Victorian one as well in case you want to jump onto that. So a safe system assessment team is engaged, and then there's some exchange of information and lots of discussions around, what's the purpose of the project? What are you trying to achieve? What commitments have you made? So everybody sort of has a bit of a discussion around that and understands the project context. And then the assessment team's got all the information that they need, and then they'll go out, they'll look at the site, try and understand the existing conditions, and then fill out the safe system assessment matrix, consider those other elements of the safe system through those qualitative questions that we took you through, come up with some suggestions for changes that would improve alignment with safe system principles, write that up into a safe system assessment report. And we're lucky now we have the templates that we can use, so we're all consistent across industry in what we're producing. And then that's handed over to the client, and their responsibility then is to look at all these recommendations, the scoring and everything like that, and make decisions on what they can change, what they can implement, what they can adjust in their project. And they do that. They amend the project, the design, to incorporate what they can. Now, if that's not going to happen, then what's the point of us going through all of this this big exercise? Now, sometimes at this point, a project team they've got the report, they've got all these suggestions. They say, well, we could do these. I wonder how that would change the safe system assessment scoring. And they might give it back to you to rescore. And so then you do an additional matrix on this new, what they've accepted and adopted. And I kind of like that, because it actually gives you this really wonderful sort of justification of your project. Because if you sort of start with a chart there that says, well, we had a safe system assessment score of 250, 0 being perfect, and 448 being the worst. So start at 250 of the existing conditions, and then we did a design, and that brought it down to 200. But then we did a safe system assessment, and they made recommendations, and we incorporated as many as we could, and that's brought it down to 120 or something like that. Then you're showing, hey, we did the best we could. We got some extra advice, and we really pushed the boundaries, and that's where we've got to. It's a good story. I mean, yes, you then say, is absolutely anything else we can do there? But we find ourselves where we're at. But if anybody's asking, are you doing the best you can for safe system alignment? that's your sort of justification there that you have done that. So I mentioned Victoria has a register of safe system assessors. It's on the VicRoads website. They're still using the VicRoads website, even though they're Department of Transport and Planning now. Well, they are for this week. No, I don't know anything is happening next week, but there's always change afoot in every road authority. So the Safe System Engineering page has this information about safe system assessments. And safe system assessment framework and the templates that you used. But they've got this bit further down that page, which talks about growing the list. And the list is the list of recommended safe system assessors. And it says, okay, if you're interested in that, do an approved safe system assessment course, which you're doing. Okay. Then do an official safe system assessment. So go to a client, find one, actually go through the full process. The one you're doing is a training exercise. You don't have a real client. You haven't been able to sit down and have that meeting. You don't know the full context of the project. We want you to do a proper one. And then that is submitted. So that actually you send that in, they review it, they might make comments. If they're satisfied, you know what you're doing, then they'll put you on the register of safe system assessors. And that is simply like a PDF that just lists a series of people. There's a snip of it, well, a snip from a while back. And that's all the details that are there. So South Australia is a bit easier. They have a list of pre-qualified safe system assessors. Again, it's a PDF. You don't have to submit a safe system assessment report. They've said that if you complete an approved course and you do the assignments and you pass the course, which is this course, you send your certificate of successful completion in, they'll add you to their list. So you can do either of those if you want. But no other jurisdiction's got that list, that register. They're just saying, you know, engage people who have done the successful completion of the safe system assessment course. Now, just one to show Victoria, South Australia, like they make decisions on when to do safe system assessments based on project dollar value. So anything less than 2 million, they suggest a rapid safe system assessment. Remember, I'm going to tell you rapid versus full shortly. A rapid safe system assessment, unless there's some other way that people have shown that they're doing the best they can with alignment with safe system principles. 2 to 5 million, full safe system assessment, or a rapid for lower risk projects, so maybe lower speed environments or the like. And anything over $5 million total estimated cost of project, full safe system assessment. The only way you can do a rapid safe system assessment is if you're reassessing. So they've changed the design or something like that, but you've gone through the full process. So that's what's happening there. Queensland has this general statement in the TMR road safety policy, or at least for TMR, that safe system assessments will be done on all projects. I do keep sort of asking, well, what does that actually mean? Like, what if you're going out to like change dull signs to retroreflective signs? Is that as a full-blown safe system assessment? And I think that's a bit of overkill, but anyway, I can't get quite clarity on it, but certainly for bigger projects, it's definitely happening, as is in New South Wales as well, and other jurisdictions that are sort of following suit. Okay, the difference between a full and a rapid safe system assessment, or in Queensland, they'll call that a light. Things in my way. Sorry, I'm not being able to write properly there. So the following things are in a full safe system assessment. I'll go through the full list and I'll just tell you which ones don't happen in a rapid, which is probably easier. So commencement meeting, if it's required, like for a rapid, sometimes it's just an email exchange of information. A full safe system assessment really is going to have some sort of Teams meeting or sit down around the plans and a chat about all of that. You need the project background and context, so that might have just been emailed to you in a rapid. The workshop, which is often combined with that commencement meeting, it's optional really in the full, even if everything's sorted in the commencement meeting, but in a rapid, yeah, that's not really done. And a site inspection is optional in a rapid. Now, we do encourage it. I think you're going to see the value of site inspections, but yeah, you can do a rapid at a desktop level. But then you assess the existing conditions and design options in both. You consider other safe system pillars. So those qualitative questions, that's only in a full. But you recommend design changes to improve alignment with safe system principles. Okay, there's a little less reporting in a rapid. Then the client adopts changes and they implement them on the ground. So as I say, I reckon it's about 70% of the work. Most rapid safe system assessments, people still go to the site. But yeah, you might even be able to shave a little bit off if for some reason you didn't need or decided not to go to site. Now, safe system assessments haven't got this absolute rigidness around them like a road safety audit does, which is to say absolute independence is required. So they do, like Victoria, South Australia at least, and Queensland and New South Wales is generally following suit. Say, the leader of the safe system assessment should be independent, but it could have, part of the design team, working closely with them to provide input and the like. So that's, more collaborative, I suppose. But so there's that. And it does encourage teams to do this and have that discussion. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and we will go and have a stretch and the like, but unless there's anything, Loretta, for me to deal with at this stage.
I think we're all good.
Okay, so let's take 5 minutes, have a stretch. We're doing well on time here, so we hopefully will be giving you some good time to really get stuck into that final assignment. But let's take 5 minutes. Okay. So the last thing I want to do, the last few slides I want to go through to have a look at some different road and street environments and just have a little discussion about what would align highly with safe system principles in these types of road stereotypes / road environments. Now, the reason for this little final session is that we are going to, once you successfully complete all of the things, give you a certificate of successful completion of a safe system assessment course. Now, it is not going to say for only urban environments or, the like. It's just, you can use this process anywhere. Could be a motorway, could be a local street, could be a shared path crossing, so we want to have a general chat about a variety of things just to make sure it's fairly clear in your mind. Max did a little bit of this with you earlier around the sort of movement of place thinking and the like, so I'll just cover that off a little bit more. This is also sort of the last opportunity to have a few more questions around anything for the safe system assessment in these sessions. Of course, you can follow up and get a one-on-one coaching session if you need. So a question has come in. I might deal with that now before I jump into some road environments. So with regards to table 3.2, do we manually duplicate it in the report in order to populate the design assessment? Or do we delete the examples from the report template? Now you copy it, copy the whole thing and paste it, and then change it. So delete the sample one. So fill the first one out. Once you're happy with it all for the existing conditions, grab it, paste it. Was there a hand that popped up there? Or maybe
just another question.
Yeah. Okay. TMR. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Harris is talking about TMR specific spreadsheet, which has some slightly different characteristics. So TMR safe system includes guidance, competing traffic volumes, exposure scores. They use 0.25 increments in exposure and likelihood. So my guidance is that so I don't particularly like it. I think they're sort of Michael Gillising it, which is Michael's got he's got very precise measures in there, which is great if you have the ability to draw that information out of this particular databases and put it all together. But the common practice we use for safe system assessments at these early stage of projects and giving that general advice is broad brush in its nature. And we're generally talking about these increments of change. And 0.5 to me is, I almost get tempted to say, don't even use 0.5. Just have whole numbers, because we want to know, are we getting step change here? Not are we getting, 0.05 of a improvement. No, are we getting step change? That's the purpose of it. But if you are, doing a TMR safe system assessment and you've been told to use the TMR spreadsheet, you'll have to use it, and it's going to come with 0.25 increments. You're also going to need access to the TMR system, and you're going to need to draw data out of their ANRAM and their other databases and things like that. It's not as easy a process, which I think is a bad thing, because we want this to be easily done by lots of people and lots of projects. But it is a good point that's flagged by Harris there. The TMR has it's generally the same. It's the same process and everything like that. It's just to use theirs. They also have heavy vehicles as their own line column in there. Great question. Thank you. Okay, do keep those questions coming in. That's what this session's all about. We've got time allocated to it. But let's go through some of these safe system road environments. And because Loretta's still got lots of prizes in the prize pit, I'll give out a few prizes as well in this. But I'm going to make you tell me, of course, what things you would want to change in these different road environments. But are you influencing exposure or likelihood or severity? So those are the sort of road environments we're going to cover off: residential streets, shopping strips, mixed-use arterials, low and high volume rural roads, outer suburban arterial roads, and then freeways, urban and rural. Looks like Rick's got his hand up, so let's jump in and have a chat with Rick there, if I can do that. No, I can't. Loretta, you're going to have to do that. No, maybe we've lost Loretta as well.
No, I've got, Rick can speak now.
Thank you. Oh, maybe Rick doesn't want to. Maybe it was an accidental hand up. That's okay. Rick, if you did want to say something, feel free to have a chat with us at any point. Jump in. Okay, let's start with residential streets, residential environments, local streets. Now you can see one here. It's 50 kilometer per hour default speed limit. It joins into a sort of major collector road there. You can see it's got some people on it. What do you think you could change in here to get better safe system alignment? And tell me, does it influence exposure or likelihood or severity? So just type a few things in that you might like to see altered in these sorts of road environment to give us better safe system alignment. In a second, I'll see if anybody pops anything in. Remember to pop in exposure, likelihood, or severity. So just maybe put an E and an L and an S, or a, whichever after your thing. So we've got good. Okay, there's one with L's and S's. So local area traffic management to reduce speed. So severity and likelihood. Correct. So Adam can have a prize for that. So cycle lane exposure and likelihood. So if it's an on-road lane, it'd just be likelihood. If it's separated facility exposure, so Justin can have a prize for that. Darren can have a prize for jumping in there first with lower speed. And speed reduction treatments such as raised platforms, which would reduce likelihood and severity. So D. Shelley can have a prize as well there. I'll talk to a few other things. They're all great ideas. Certainly, after you've done your movement and place assessment around these things, you get an understanding of what your priorities are and the like. But do we need to have access out here? So can we close the road? That's a fair question to ask. And then you would reduce exposure. Could you make that a corp? Well, can we stop it being used as a through route of any description? You don't have the context or surrounding network of this, so that's a bit of a hard call to make, but that would influence the exposure to crashes. Certainly speeds down through local area traffic management features and speed limits. I mean, local area traffic management is great because it's a continual reinforcement of that inability to sort of hoon through. And maybe, adding separated facilities. People often say, remove car parking. Now, that comes with challenge. So removal of car parking would open up sight lines to pedestrians trying to cross the road. However, it would also make the road wider and potentially higher speed. So if you do that, you sort of want to complement that with ways to, give areas to maybe pedestrians and cyclists, keeping the road narrow, or adding local area traffic management features as well. A few more came in as I was chatting there. Maybe my chat was being slow there. So, so one-way system, that's potentially exposure and potentially likely, and maybe severity, depending. You do a bit more thinking about that, but that's a good one from Adam there. And a few more have come in, which are all looking pretty good. Well done. Thank you. So I'll run through this road environment. I will give a prize, though, if somebody can tell me where this is. That's an interesting little challenge. But these sorts of environments where it's a very obviously sort of place for people environment, shopping centre. Adam is correct. If it is in Sydney, so I have to give Adam a prize for being that, and more precise. And being more precise, Bondi Junction. Yes, well done, Anthony. And is Bondi Junction. Actually says it over here. So these sorts of, it's an obvious place for people. It's got lots of activity, lots of things going on. Really, we should be heavily questioning, are vehicles required through there at all? Can we eliminate exposure to vehicle pedestrian crashes by banning vehicles? That's starting point. If there's absolute need for that, for vehicles as well, we really want to be restricting vehicle use in these areas. We know we're going to have all this pedestrian activity, or making the speeds really, really slow. The idea of putting up pedestrian fencing through here or something like that and creating one pedestrian crossing point when there's so much pedestrian volume and movement and the like, is likely to cause issues. So it'll probably increase vehicle speeds, and also you'll get pedestrians walking on the wrong side of fences and jumping fences and these sort of things. So we don't recommend any of that sort of stuff in these sorts of environments. And it's about just bringing the speeds down excessively through raised treatments, surface treatments, changes to that, and really making it shared zoney and very low speeds. Yep, painting the pavement, giving it that feel as well can help in highlighting the pedestrian area of it. So we go to mixed use arterials. These are often the really challenging ones where we have a road like this, also in Sydney, and it just sits with everything in your hierarchy. So it's a priority bus route, it's a priority traffic route, it's a pedestrian precinct. I think it's even a bike route, even though that'd be a challenge riding through there. We're trying to do everything with this bit of road. And so the first thing is to really push to try and get more clarity and a movement of place sense. And what are we actually trying to do with this roads? What is the actual priority of road use? And then we start to look at, well, how can we alter the road environment to give us better safe system alignment in these sorts of scenarios, acknowledging that there is a movement requirement and movement function of buses and cars and cyclists, and also people are in there and trying to cross. So yeah, I'll let you tell me a few things that you think might improve alignment with safe system principles. Of course, give me exposure, likelihood, and severity, because that's a big part of safe system assessing, thinking through that. Okay, so Mahesh is on to speed limit reductions, likelihood and severity. Yep, possible. So prize there. And with the first one in with speed limit reductions there. Yeah, so bus lane could come out a bit, dedicated cycle facility. Yeah, we're challenged on a bit of road width, but those sort of things are possible. Diverting vehicles to other roads is a good option to look at. Okay, Rick's come up with one there of a narrow raised median, so like a refuge in the middle to give pedestrians a place, and nicely put it to likelihood. So prize there as well. Median treatments. Yep, lots of good stuff in there. So I'll talk to a few things here that I think would really enhance safe system alignment. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff we a lot of these areas we can put raised treatments without it ending the world. Like people will say, oh, it's a bus route, you can't possibly do that. Well, there's certainly the possibility of doing it with buses, but even without, you could design with a busway like this, you could design it so that bit's not necessarily raised over there, but you've raised, the pedestrian crossing there, and that that would act like a speed calming device for vehicles. Vehicles are not going to make a 80 km/h run straight down this road at 2 a.m. if they've got to navigate over speed humps, or they're highly likely to. So those sort of things are available. Creating those separated spaces for cyclists as well, away from vehicles. Refuge islands are things good for that likelihood of crashes. Pedestrian fencing wouldn't likely be a good one here, just because of that high pedestrian movement and a lot of that potential for trapping. One thing I do often recommend is like your dwell on red, rest on red treatment, which would be at, on maybe Friday night, Saturday night, and when there's lots of, intoxicated pedestrian activity going on, to just default your signals to red as what they would rest on. Like usually a pedestrian crossing like that would default to sit on green for cars. But if you default it to sit on red for cars, cars have to come up and slow down. And then once they trigger a loop, then they get a green, and then it's back to red. So it's acknowledging that pedestrian activity is a big one here. Let's slow vehicles going through, and especially at those hours, it's not, you're not trying to pump traffic through there as much as you can. So those sort of ideas are quite nice often. So our low volume rural roads, and this is a sort of low volume, but it seems to be it's got 2 lanes and it's line marked, so it's a higher order than a lot of the roads out there in Australia. But they're currently sort of 100 kilometers an hour for the absolute majority of them. And the choice has really become, are we going to put significant investment in infrastructure here to put a barrier down the middle, barrier on the outside, and the like, or are we going to manage and reduce speeds? And in the end, there's so much of this network out there that the cost is just astronomical. And we certainly have, in the very short term, lots of sort of likelihood reducing treatments, as has come in there from Darren nicely, like audio tactile edge line, audio tactile center line, a bit of sealed shoulder, and then some severity techniques for some of the higher risk spots, like isolated barrier systems in different locations. But the sort of aspirations we have of a 0 deaths and serious injuries on the road network, the lower order roads and the speeds will have to come down if we're to achieve that. And I think we've got a long way to go with some communities to get them to understand and accept that. I think it'll be a big challenge, but it's where it is. So short term, there's certainly lots of likelihood reducing factors we can do in those locations. But our higher order roads, which this one is, it doesn't look like it because there's not vehicles on it at the moment. But this is, we're providing that central barrier system, sort of your 2+1 or 1+1 road environments, 1 lane in each direction, barriers down the outside. That's where we're sort of trying to get to in order to keep vehicle speeds high for these major routes between major destinations. And of course, there will still be intersections at these, but your major intersections would have roundabouts, and that complements your central barrier system quite nicely, because if you have those strategically placed, different access points and things can come out and you turn around to go that way, as opposed to having to have a break in your barrier. Think about the distances you can do that. Or, some of the more minor road would have sort of speed, side road activated speed limits and reductions in speed at those locations. Your outer suburban arterial, sort of major traffic roads with low pedestrian activity and the like, we certainly don't want mixing of vulnerable road users, so they should have their own separated facilities. These are probably the environments where we can start to limit pedestrian crossing, and pedestrian fencing starts to become more acceptable, providing pedestrian underpasses, overpasses, and really, getting the vulnerable road users out of there from an exposure perspective, and managing conflict points for vehicles, especially around these sort of major conflict points, even though we've got signals to reduce the likelihood, thinking about the severity of any incident in those locations as well. Motorways, and so freeways and the like, urban freeways, they have pretty high alignment with safe system principles in the sense that they've got usually continuous barrier systems. They don't have crashability of head-on crashes or even side impact crashes. So we've eliminated a lot of those challenging crash types already. But what we do see fair bit of pedestrian death and serious injury on these, associated with people getting out of cars late at night, often getting out of taxis, and for one reason or another, and wandering around, broken down vehicles, getting out, and those sort of things. Managed motorways is a really exceptional way to try to lessen that risk, and it's lessening the likelihood and sometimes the severity of crashes. The managed motorways are sort of where you have your gantry and your lane use management systems, and ability to close down lanes, and you have ramp metering and a whole lot of things. So these areas often perform pretty well during free flow operations, really well during free flow operations, and really well if they're absolutely congested and stuff, because there's not enough speed for anything to cause major damage. The crash types have been eliminated. As the flow breaks down, we see some problems, and so again, you can manage that by monitoring vehicle volumes and speeds and headways, and then there are lots of algorithms out there that will then suggest when speeds are reduced proactively to lessen risk. And major rural highways, which is the final one, are going to obviously have continuous barrier systems the whole way in order to maintain that high speed. And when we get to intersections, they'll either be grade separated roundabouts, or the only really other option you have is like a left in, left out acceleration. Drawing something like a median in the middle here. And so vehicles could accelerate, so that any crash that happens there, the delta V is low. You've got to think about the roadside as well at these locations. Enough time to accelerate, change lanes, and then some sort of acceleration lane back in the other way, right up to enough speed, again, that the delta V's are low, and thinking about managing that, and then they continue on that way. So you've actually managed your energy in both scenarios. Okay, extra content. We're probably not going to do extra content. I'm going to stop sharing for now, answer any final questions, and then give Loretta enough time to show you how to finish, and then everybody will have a bit of time to get onto their assignment.
Thank you. Got a couple of things. So firstly, I'll just go over the recent one from Adam. So if we are targeting to keep high volume routes at high speeds, will this result in potential congestion and maintenance issues if low volume roads are not able to cater for the overflow? VCRs often have a flaw that there needs to be a significant use to justify road projects. But if we intentionally guide users away from the certain roads because it's too hard to make safe, then those roads will likely deteriorate and become less safe. SRAS.
Yeah, so this the SRAS is side road activated speeds for, I think that was another slide I was putting up. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I'm part of a project team for big Austroads projects around path to zero. What are our roads looking like in 2050, and what are the things? But yeah, the reality is there would have to be further investment in the higher volume roads to cater for the capacity of vehicles that might shift off a really like a lower volume, lower infrastructure, safety characteristics road, if we're going to pull the speed down, or it's just traveled at a lower speed. Like, I think it's a complex balance, but at a very sort of simplistic theoretical level, major roads will be, like regional roads I'm talking about, will be kept at high speed, and the infrastructure money will go into those. Lower order roads will not get the major infrastructure money, and the speed limits and the speed of vehicles will come down on those because they don't have the safety characteristics we need. And it will encourage people to use the roads with the higher safety standards associated with it, a higher safe system, well, not higher safe system alignment, because you've got that safe system alignment with the lower speeds, but it's going to be more attractive to use those. So yeah, it's going to be complex as it plays out. It's always been complex in this sort of stuff, but the idea that we have a road that has trees next to it, no sealed shoulders, and it's operating at 100 kilometers an hour. And we've also got a parallel road that's got continuous barrier systems down the middle of the road and the side of the road, and it's operating at 100 kilometers an hour. We are just very poles apart in terms of the risk profile, and we need to adjust that. Okay.
Thanks. I just had another one that came through earlier. I'm not sure if you want to cover it now, but I'll go through it. It was just in regards to slow zones from Justin. So Justin's dealing with Joseph Road precinct in Footscray, which is going through a significant transition. They are following a plan developed in the early planning as the buildings evolve. I'm wondering how to incorporate more slow zones that may be useful.
Yeah, well, I think that's a real sort of case by case looking at where these opportunities arise. I think safe system assessments will provide you with a bit of assistance in that, in the ability to show them the existing conditions, what's being planned, and what could be done with some lower zones. So that makes a little case for it. But yeah, I don't know the specifics of that one, so I'll have to let you sort of scratch your head and use some of the principles you've learned in this in that.
Another one just come through from Harris. Any difference in your approach in applying the SSA framework to a single intersection versus assessing a major motorway project, apart from using the rapid or full SSA?
Yeah, so we have one of those fact sheets that you have a link to in the learning management system associated with how do you do a safe system assessment on a route that has multiple intersections. So it's the same process for a motorway or a single intersection or the like, but it's just more about understanding, okay, if I've got a long length of road and it's got multiple interchanges or intersections, what do? Do I do that as one matrix, or do I break it up, or do I do a weighted average across all of these? And so we've got a fact sheet on that. The common industry practice on that will be breaking it up into homogeneous sections, generally the same, right? So it usually, like if you're doing a big motorway and it's got multiple interchanges, you do the interchange as one. You'd potentially do each of the off-ramp intersections as one matrix each, and then you do mid-block sections, and then you do the same. Like we did, I was on the team that did the safe system assessment for Northeast Link in Victoria whatever it is now, $15 billion road project. And I think we had over 60 matrices for that. So just breaking it up and saying, and you don't come out with one end score for something like that. You have a whole lot of scores and then a whole lot of things that could reduce all those different scores. So I have a colleague who used to like to do weighted averages. So he had his massive 20 tab spreadsheet that did weighted averages across the scoring. It can be done. I think you're starting to turn it into a numbers exercise rather than the principle of, how well is this aligning with safe system principles and what can we do better? Have a look at that fact sheet, though. I think it hopefully should explain, but of course, happy to share more information if you have any questions.
That's it for questions.
All right. How about you share your screen, show them how to finish this course?
Sounds good to me. All right. Can you see my screen there?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. So I know everyone's been in this system because you have completed quizzes and submitted your Module 2 assignment. So thank you. As you would have heard yesterday, Module 4 assignment, it is due next Friday. But for today's module, there is simply a quiz. So we'll give you some time back today to finish that quiz and hopefully get on to maybe your assignment. So that's really it for Module 5. But lastly, I just wanted to cover sort of what you need to do at the end of the course. So once you've completed all the requirements, your quizzes and your assignments, there is a feedback that you do need to fill out in order to have access to your certificate. So please ensure that you click on course feedback and then just answer the question. So it's pretty straightforward. And then you'll be able to download your certificate. Another thing that we wanted to sort of go through with you that you might find handy is to share your achievement. So when you click on share your achievement online, you'll get a bit of an info page. But basically what we've done here is to help you if you wanted to share this on your social networks like LinkedIn. A lot of people do like to post that they've completed a course. So we've made it easier for you. So you can download these badges if you wanted them sort of interactive or still. So you can post them along with some wording. So again, we've made it sort of easier for you if you wanted to sort of copy and paste to say why it's important, that you've done this course or any course with us. We try and make it easy for, I guess, the community to understand how important, road safety is. So if you wanted to use that, feel free. Make sure you tag us, of course, and we pass that on as well. So that's all you need to do for the end. So ensure that you're completing all your modules, all the assignments and quizzes. Fill out your feedback in order to get your certificate and all these prizes that I need to hand out. I think Ken and Max have cleaned out our prize supply for the end of the year. So, but that's really good. Thank you everyone for all your contribution today and throughout the sessions. I think we may have had another chat come through as well. Ken, did you want to add anything on here?
Sorry, I was just reading the question as it was coming in there. No, just reiterating. Finish off all your quizzes and assignments. Reach out if you need any assistance. You want to talk to somebody about that, get a bit of coaching. Share your achievement, advertise that you can help people with their safe system assessments and the like. We just want lots and lots of those happening for all the infrastructure projects. Questions come in around, well, what happens when the safe system assessment sort of contravenes some sort of documented standard or approach? And that does happen quite a lot. And it may be different to the speed zoning guidelines, or that jurisdiction doesn't do raised treatments on those certain roads or whatever it is like that, you're going to face a lot of that probably. I think safe system assessments are actually one of the part of us pushing along some of that change. If it's safe system assessments coming in, suggesting that, continuing to suggest that, it starts to move industry along a little bit, and we might get some changes to those guidelines and the like. As a safe system assessor, do not let like standards and guidelines block you from making a recommendation. If you believe it's going to be a better safe system outcome, that they don't have to accept it. And if you're receiving a safe system assessment and are suggesting that, you should be considering it. Can we do it? Can we do design exceptions in order to get a safer outcome, which would be very good use of the design exception process? Can we look at other ways we might be able to achieve the outcomes we're looking for? So yeah, it does get a bit messy. I mean, that's part of it all. Don't be deterred though from putting good ideas forward. You can acknowledge in your recommendations that it's not as per the current standards, but this is why it's a good treatment. So you're welcome to actually acknowledge that, but yeah, don't throw out a good idea just because it's not meeting a standard or guideline. Okay, good, perfect timing. We wanted to give you a good half hour to really get stuck into that safe system assessment you've got to do. So I want to just thank Loretta and the team there in the background doing all the hard yards of making sure everybody had all the links and knew where they were going and the like, and sending out all the prizes and certificates when we get to that stage. And I want to remind you that we have safe system assessors, experienced safe system assessors available to coach you, to help you, to answer your questions. If you need any assistance, please don't sit there really unsure of what you're doing and concerned and the like. Just shoot an email through. We'll organize a time. You'll have a chat with somebody. It'll help clear things up. Roll your sleeves up and get stuck into that. Knock it off. We don't want them lagging well into 2024. Finish it off. Submit it. It'll get marked, and you'll get your results, and you'll be able to you get your pack in the mail. Don't know whether the packs would arrive before Christmas, but we'll see.
We'll see. It depends how quickly they get their assignment completed and it gets marked. And
of course, you've got my contact details, and please reach out if you've got any questions around safe system assessments or road safety issues in general. I'm always happy to try and share any knowledge I've got or information that I know of, or connect you with people around Australia or around the world who are have done projects in that space or have knowledge. So feel free to keep me as a bit of a contact there. And I really want to encourage you to do safe system assessments. Get them out there. We've got a lot of the road network existing that can be improved, and projects are still coming out and being built that are not as safe as they could be. And we can inject a bit of this change in there and save some people's lives and prevent some serious injuries. So push the process forward, get organizations doing it, encourage it, tell people you can help, you can do them. And of course, reach out if you need any assistance. So thanks, Loretta. Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, have a good festive season.
Thank you. Bye.